Hello and welcome to another episode of our Adobe Photoshop tutorial brought to you by yours truly, OneLearn. In the previous episode, we talked about using the quick selection tool and the magic wand tool. We talked about working with the group of tools, that's the quick selection tool and the magic wand tool together while making a selection. But in this video, we're going to be moving on to using the crop tool, the perspective crop tool, and the slice tool. We won't talk much about the slice tool as it is basically used for web designers and we're focusing on graphics, but we will talk about crop tool and the perspective crop tool in this video and how you can use it to remove unwanted areas on your project. Okay, now we're moving on to the crop tool on our Photoshop application. We've talked about the selection tools, we've talked about the move tool. Now we are moving on to the crop tool. Okay, in the crop tool group, we have crop tool, perspective crop tool, slice tool, and the slice select tool. Now let's work with crop tool. Crop tool, as the name implies, is basically used for cropping an image or cropping your project. Now, what does cropping mean? You want to resize your image, increase the size or reduce the size. That's what I use when I'm increasing or using the size, but basically that's not its function. Cropping, it means just selecting a particular area on your work file and turning that into your workspace. This is not has nothing to do with layers. This is basically your workspace. You are basically resizing your image to a particular area that you are interested in. And there we go. This is crop. I just cropped this picture, and as you can see, I have removed the unwanted part. I can also rotate my crop if I want to. When I click on OK, it will select that particular part that I have rotated. Now I'm going to undo that. So that's the crop tool for you. It's actually very easy to use. It is basically just used for selecting the wanted portion of your workspace. Now let's move on. The options that are available on the crop tool right here are, if you want to use the unconstrained crop tool, which is what we just did, which means we can crop anywhere on our workspace using the unconstrained crop tool. We don't need to enter. Okay, we can as well enter a side. Maybe we want to crop 500 by 500 by 500. Now the crop tool, okay, this is already 500 by 500. Let me make it 100 by 100. Wow, our image is really small. Okay, 10 by 10. Okay, I'm sorry. It seems like the crop tool does not work based on size, not on pixels, but rather in aspect ratio. Sorry, I did not notice that on time. Now, if you want to enter anything here, you're entering an aspect ratio. What aspect ratio means is the ratio of your size, the width by the height, or the height by the width. So that is basically what aspect ratio is. So if you want to be insert an aspect ratio, maybe you want your width or height to have a specific aspect ratio, you will say maybe 3 by 5. Now you can see this is a 3 by 5 aspect ratio. There you go. You can also come over here and select original ratio. You can select 1 by 1 square. You can select any other aspect ratio that is available. You can also save the preset aspect and save aspect ratio that you selected as a preset and save it among the list and use it later in other projects. Now, like I said, you can work unconstrained. You can work with the original ratio, which is the one that came with the project right from the very beginning, or you can choose a specific aspect ratio. You can also rotate it from here. This is where you can rotate. We're not going to be using that other one right now. These other ones are basically for for advanced users, but we're not going to be talking about that right now, so I won't convince and confuse you guys. But you can choose to either delete your cropped pictures, cropped layers, or you can leave it there. Now let's see. I'm going to unconstrained. I have choose not to delete cropped areas. Okay, it seems like no matter what I do, the cropped areas actually get deleted, but we're not going to be working with that right now, since we are basically focusing on using our crop tool to remove unwanted area. Now that's how the crop tool work. The next one is perspective crop tool. Now the perspective crop tool is the same thing as the crop tool, but instead of cropping in rectangularly or in a square shape format, you can crop in any other shape. All you have to do is select the first area, the area you want to crop, and then move the edges of your selection to where you want it to be. Let's see, we have this. Okay, once I click on OK, voila, the application will help me stretch out my image to take the shape of the selection I made when using the that particular perspective crop tool. So the crop tool is basically just the same with the crop tool. This tool is the same with the crop tool. The difference is just that you can select, you can crop out an area not just in a square rectangular shape, but in an irregular shape. It depends on how you want to work. You can also work using width and height, as you can see here, or you can crop in resolution, that's in pixels per inches. So that's basically how you can use the perspective crop tool. The next tool you have is the slice tool. The slice tool is basically used by web designers. That's what I was just telling you. If you're used by web designers, probably you want to arrange your workspace. You want to cut out certain portions so that they will have web designers know what I'm talking about. And let's say divs. I won't call it divs, but let's say divisions. That would be a better way to explain it. Now, if you want to collect out or cut out certain areas of your workspace as a web designer, you use the slice tool. Now you can see as what I'm doing right now. I am slicing out particular areas of my project. Now these areas I am sliding. As I'm designing, I can design using putting some images here, some images here, some images here. I'm sectioning it. We have 01 section, 02 section, 03 section, 04 section, 05 section. So you can see that is what the tool is for. And the slice select tool is to select a particular slice. After you have made a particular slice, you just select it using the slice select tool. But as a graphics designer, you're not going to be working with the slice tool much. It is not exactly important, so I'm going to leave that for the professionals, especially those that are working on Photoshop. Remove this. Okay, so that is all for the crop tool. We've talked about the crop tool, the perspective crop tool, and they are actually amazing tools for removing unwanted areas in your workspace. Not just selecting them, but completely removing the unwanted area on your image or workspace. In this video, we focused on using our crop tool and perspective crop tool in removing unwanted areas on our project. We didn't really talk much about the slice tool because it's being used strictly by web designers, basically by web designers. So in the next video, we are going to focus on making use of the eyedropper tool and the color sampler tool. We'll probably talk about the rollout tool, the nodes tool, and the count tool, but we won't really talk about the 3D material tools. So in the next video, we're going to talk about all these tools that I've mentioned. I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it.